right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to welcome most of you folks back as more and more folks are getting on, and it looks like we're getting a good number already starting to jump in on Facebook as well. It's good to see a lot of you today. If I didn't have a chance to say hello to you, it looks like we've got a good group starting to jump on as we go forward. I'm really excited about today. I have two friends of mine that are going to be joining us. Chris Patterson and I met probably about 4 or 5 years ago at one of our Ziglar trainings. Chris is a certified coach for Ziglar, certified speaker with Ziglar, has been doing this as a part of Ziglar for over 20 years, owns 2 companies, both a digital marketing company and a coaching company, Living Life Large Academy. And 20 years ago, a little over 20 years ago, you were Mr. Ziglar's personal trainer. Is that right, Chris?
Yeah, it's embarrassingly enough to admit it was probably 25, 30 years ago.
Wow.
And like I was telling you, I got a lot more out of training Ziglar than he got out of me training him. He was just a wealth of knowledge, so it was amazing for me.
And a few years ago, probably about 4 years ago, we were at a Ziglar training together, and Chris brought one of his good friends, Michael Chandler, to come to your training. I had the opportunity to meet Michael there, and Michael has got a wonderful story of where he came from, of how he succeeded and how he's overcome things. And Chris, you know Michael much better. If you wouldn't mind, I'd like for you to introduce Michael, tell us a little bit about him, and then kind of go from there. And guys, at the end of our time together, at the end of the talk, you guys will have the opportunity to ask some questions and to share your thoughts with him as well. If our numbers get pretty high, we'll just ask you to type in the chat, and some of our guys will get, if we get up a little bit higher on the numbers. So, Chris, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate that, James. So Michael and I met probably just about a decade ago, and just through some different happenstance, we ended up working together. And then he became my best friend. Well, I think he would admit that on most days. It just depends on the day. But Michael and I have been hanging out for the last decade, having a blast. I've been to every one of his fights. I've literally cornered him in every one of his fights. I don't know what I'm doing as a corner, but I'm in the corner. I just yell and say stuff that I think sounds cool. Other than that, I want to introduce Mr. Michael Chandler. He is a D1 wrestler. In fact, he was an NCAA All-American as a D1 wrestler. He's a 3-time world champion with Bellator, and I think you were at Strikeforce at one point too, weren't you, Michael?
Yes, sir.
And he's also a 3-time Mizzou. He went to University of Missouri. He was a 3-time team captain there. Also, he was a 3-time Fighter of the Year candidate. So this is a very accomplished young man who has done some incredible things, and I promise you guys, pay attention, because he's going to share some things with you that are going to improve your mindset today. He's going to give you some tips to change some of your habits and make things better in your life. So I'm very, very excited to have Michael with us. And with that said, Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This is a huge exciting opportunity for me, because, you know, I never met the man that was Zig Ziglar, but through all the stories that you have told me, Chris, from both personally and just as a lifelong student, and then getting to go there to the Plano, Texas, and do the Essentials of Public Speaking course with you, and met James there. It was a blast as well. So it's been this has been awesome, and it's one of those deals where I feel like it's kind of all come full circle. So to be able to get the opportunity, you know, now as a guy who's been fighting and doing athletics for the last 20 years, and now to get to share my experiences with some of the young folk here who are obviously on the right path, who are obviously on a much more of a right path than I was at their age, or even yourself, Chris, as we talked about.
Sure.
It took you, you know, late into your late 20s before you actually started applying these principles to your life. So I'm excited to be here, and thank you guys for having me.
Awesome to have you. And just so that all of you know, if you have something that goes into your head where I need to ask this question, or I should ask this question, don't hold back. Just write down that question, and then we'll put it into the chat box a little bit later. Well, hopefully we'll be able to get to all of them, but keep in mind, that's your job today, Generation Z. I just want a couple questions from you, okay? So let's do that. But let me start out by just asking Michael, you know, it's really easy now that you're essentially at the top, right? 3-time world champion. You've got tons of followers from all over the world. You're making a huge impact, but it didn't start out like that. Tell us where it all kind of began and how you started this whole thing off.
I was a little guy from a little town, south of St. Louis, Missouri, High Ridge, Missouri. And, wasn't quite sure up until the day that I left if I would ever leave. I was actually told by a lot of people I wanted to go walk on to the University of Missouri, and everyone around me, coaches told me I probably shouldn't do it. Parents told me I probably shouldn't do it. Teammates told me I probably shouldn't do it. I should take the safe route and take a scholarship to the smaller school or, one of the local schools. But instead I took that leap of faith and took that chance on myself and walked on to the University of Missouri, as you alluded to, and ended up just through hard work and surrounding myself with the best people possible, became a 4-time NCAA qualifier, 3-time team captain, and an All-American. But it took me years of trying to fight that small guy from that small town who was taught to do small things, told and implored to do small things, that I had to continue. And guys like yourself, Chris, who have helped me immensely work on that mentality that I've had. So I think still as a 34-year-old, I just turned 34 years old. And yes, I have multiple world titles. And yes, I have 20 fights inside of a cage in front of millions and millions and millions of people on this big world-renowned stage that I am blessed to be able to be on. I'm still just a human being, and you are still what you are and where you are because of what has gone into your mind. And I was taught from a very, very young age to think a certain way. And all of my deepest, darkest, craziest things that have gone inside my head where they don't even make sense to you, but they make sense to me. And as human beings, as athletes, as businessmen, as future leaders of America, we're constantly fighting that little guy from that little town and mentality. And that's kind of where it started, and walked on to the University of Missouri. And then from there continued to fight, if you will. Had my first fight in 2009 after I graduated, and then haven't looked back since.
Great job, dude. One of the things I love to hear from you is some of the key lessons that you learned, because I know wrestling is your major foundation, physically, that is your foundation. What give everybody 1 or 2 things that you learned that were just invaluable to you that you'll carry on for the rest of your days?
I think when it comes to the sport of wrestling, and of course I'm extremely biased, and I don't know if there's any wrestlers on the call today or that will be listening, but I'm extremely biased that wrestling is the greatest sport on the planet Earth, the greatest sport ever invented, the oldest sport ever invented, and will forever be the cornerstone of the human, I think the human spirit, if you will, so I would say the number one thing that I learned was discipline. I may not be the guy who can jump the highest or run the farthest or the strongest in the weight room or this, that, or the other thing, or I haven't been at certain areas of certain seasons of my life throughout my career coming up. But I was the most disciplined. I was, just as God's word said, you can't be trusted with the big things, the large things, the massive things until you are able to be trusted with the small things. So how am I supposed to be trusted with a gold medal around my neck, standing at the top of the podium, if I can't even find it in myself to do the reps that I'm supposed to do, to put in the amount of work that I'm supposed to do, to make sure I'm eating the right things and not eating the wrong things, to make sure I'm going to bed at the right time, drinking the right things, not drinking the wrong things. All of those little bitty decisions, those little bitty discipline flexing moments where you have to flex your discipline and say, no, I'm going to forego this little thing right now, this little piece of food right now, or this little party right now for the greater good of my future self. Because my future self, I'm always thinking about my future self, the future Michael a year from now, when it's time for nationals and it's time to go put it on the line, or the future self now, when it's time to step in that cage, how am I going to expect to be that big event if I can't do the small things leading up to it? So I think discipline, and then delayed gratification, realizing that the work that I put in today, I might not see the results today, and I might not see the results tomorrow, and I might not see the results a month from now, but months and weeks and years from now, once again, my future self will thank my present self for that. Drilling something 1,000 times, drilling it 10,000 times until you get it right. The delayed gratification, that the monotony that I'm going through right now will pay off later. So discipline, delayed gratification, which I have always been able to just hinge my performances on and hinge my toughness on.
Man, that is such an important lesson for everybody on here, me included, because it's so easy to fall off the wagon. It's so easy to be like, I know what I should be doing, but I go ahead and do something else anyways. By the way, everyone should watch a little video out there called the marshmallow test. The marshmallow test was, I think, a Brazil scientific test they put together. It's really funny. They just take a couple kids, they put them in one room, and they say, hey, if you do not eat this marshmallow in the next 15 minutes, I'll give you 2. So the, little kids are like 4 or 5 years old, and they're sniffing the marshmallow and they're trying to get inside of it. And they're doing everything they can but eat it. But watch that, because what Michael is saying is so critically important. He just nailed 2 of the things that changed my life. Number 1 is being disciplined. And then the other is not being tempted by instant gratification. It's so easy to go out, fall off the wagon, do what the crowd is doing. But Michael didn't. Michael was grinding. Michael was fighting. Michael was working. Michael was disciplining himself. And he's become an incredible human being just because of those 2 things: discipline and delaying gratification. Those are tremendously important for you guys to watch. Michael, I'm sure that things haven't been all shiny and rosy and perfect and wonderful throughout your career. In fact, I really know better. But share with these guys what the term 688 days means to you.
Oh, yeah. So you're referring to probably the hardest season of my life. And thank God I had you through it all. But I got shot out of a cannon from day one of mixed martial arts. As I said, 2009, I got shot out of a cannon. Within 18 months, I was fighting for my first world title. And I just beat Eddie Alvarez, who was the number 3 guy in the world. So I went from relative nobody in the sport to top 3 lightweight in the entire world. Some people thinking I'm the greatest lightweight on the planet at that time. And what I didn't realize was that I could be doing all the reps in the gym that I talked about, all the delayed gratification of the hard workouts and the discipline and the training of my physical body. And I could run faster than everybody and jump higher than everybody and fight better than everybody. But what I wasn't doing was standing guard at the gate of my mind and realizing that if I wasn't continuing to build myself up mentally, that my physical body and my physical attributes didn't really mean a thing. I rematch Eddie Alvarez. I lost. And in that moment, I didn't just lose a fight. I lost a piece of who I was at a cellular level, at least I thought. As soon as he got his hand raised, I immediately forgot how good I was, and I immediately wanted to crawl into a hole because I wasn't ready to lose. I wasn't built up enough mentally and spiritually to be able to lose. And I forgot all of the hard work that I put in. I forgot all of the blessings and the believing that God put me on this planet to be a world champion, not just to be good at this sport of mixed martial arts, but to be great and to be phenomenal, and to be able to reach people through this sport. That first loss carried into another loss, which carried into another loss. And I ended up going 688 days without winning a fight. So 730 days is 2 years. So I was just a couple days shy of almost 2 years without winning a fight. In the sport of wrestling, if I lost a wrestling match on Wednesday, it wasn't but 3, 4, 5 days until I could get back, put that singlet back on, put that uniform back on, go out there, wrestle, get a win, and I can erase that last loss. But for me, these 4, 5, 6, 8 months between fights was such a hard transition period because every single day was another opportunity to fail. And this was something that Chris and I worked on a lot, because I remember calling him one day after I won my first world title, and he could feel like the pressure was starting to get to me. He could feel that his friend, who he cares about so much and believes in so much, was starting to put so much pressure on himself that he was forgetting why he started. And I kept just wanting to be the man that everybody thought that I was. I needed to be this world champion fighter. So that means every time that I had a sparring session and I got hit, I thought I lost the round. Every time I got taken down, I thought I lost the round. And I was focused on being perfect. And Chris said, Michael, why are you trying to be perfect? And I'm like, well, Chris, I'm a world champion and I'm supposed to beat this guy, and this guy's not even that good, and blah, 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 blah. And how am I going to beat this guy if I can't beat this guy? And he said, well, were you successful today? And I said, well, yeah, I had a good, the practice was actually really good. I lost that one round, but and he's like, okay, well, so you had a successful day. So it was in that moment. And I think that was after my third loss, whenever Chris helped me to realize that instead of focusing on being perfect, I just need to focus on being successful. So I went through that almost 2-year loss streak where it was the toughest time of my life, and a lot of tears were shed. A lot of uncertainty was happening. Wasn't even sure if I was going to be signed to a major promotion after that third loss. And now since then, got things turned around, started building myself up more mentally, making sure I was standing guard at the gate of my mind every single day. And now here I am, won 2 more world titles, and I'm at the top of my game. But it wasn't through a lot of tough times that I think a lot of times we need those tough times to realize how, number one, how truly blessed we are, because I realize that, and number two, how much we love what we're doing. And I do love the sport of mixed martial arts, and I do love to be able to get to do what I do.
So looking back now, after going 688 days without a win, and beating yourself up left, right, and center. By the way, I got to watch all this, guys. It wasn't fun for me. This is my best friend. He's going through a tough time. I mean, this is his livelihood. This is affecting his family. It's affecting everything. And you guys are going to go through the same things. I can promise you. I wish I could say the opposite, but the truth is, life is hard. And one thing that Zig taught me is the harder you are on yourself, the easier life will be to you. And that's why, it was important not only for Michael to get through those 688 days, but to experience those 688 days of loss, because it brought him to where he's at now. He has a completely different mindset. He's got a different outlook. He's not going to make the same mistakes he made in the past. And we have to remember that as young people, as we go into business or become teachers or what have you. So Michael, give us 2 or 3 kind of practical tips, if you will, of maybe what you did or how you could overcome some of these setbacks, because we're going to deal with setbacks in life. So what would you recommend, or a couple of good ideas are for them?
Number one, and I know I can say this, to this group, because all of the things that Generation Z stands for is extreme accomplishment and extreme significance, but a lot of it and all of it is based on integrity, and it's based on principle, and it's based on humility. And so I know I can say this. As I talked about, I came from that small guy from the small town who was taught to do small things. So I was afraid to be confident in myself for the fear that I would walk into a room and people would feel insecure around me. It's one of the greatest quotes of all time. The Nelson Mandela. We don't fear that we are inadequate. We fear that we are powerful beyond belief. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. And I used to do that. I was so afraid of my light that I would walk into a room and I would cower, and I would do this, and I would be meek, and I would turn the other cheek, and I would be afraid because I don't want people to feel insecure around me. So I think the greatest tip that I can give you is, it's okay to love yourself, and it's okay to be proud of yourself, and it is okay to be confident in yourself. That's number one. Number two, making a mental highlight reel, writing down your 10 greatest accomplishments that you have had over the last X amount of years. Even if it's, hey, I got a 98% on that math test and I thought I was going to get less than a 70%. Even if it's, I gave that person a compliment and he or she reciprocated in this way that made my day better. For me, a lot of it's athletic accomplishments. A lot of it is, things that I have moments in my life where I thought, man, I'm going to not do well here because of X, Y, and Z. And I ended up doing really well. Pat yourself on the back. There is nothing wrong with a good sense of pride when you can close your eyes and think about the things that you have accomplished. And the third thing is to actually visualize. Everything starts right here inside of the mind. And for a guy like myself who actually, fights, need to be able to close my eyes, look down at the canvas and touch the canvas and smell the canvas and feel the lights and hear the people and hear the fans, hear my coaches, hear my cornermen, feel the fight inside my mind before the fight actually happens. So number one, don't be afraid to be confident and be proud of yourself, as long as it's anchored and anchored in humility. Number two, making that mental highlight reel. And number three, being able to learn and master the art of visualization. And there is no shortage of literature out there for all three of those things. So go out there and find it.
Good stuff. For those of you that are interested in asking a question, go ahead and just type them into the chat here now, if you don't mind. And we'll pop up and ask Michael a few of those. But, you did something with a company called YouVersion. What is YouVersion, and what did you do for them, Michael?
So YouVersion is actually the, I guess it's the parent company of the Bible app. So actually the Bible app, the brown one, that you probably all of us have downloaded on our phones. It's the most downloaded. I believe they said it was the most downloaded app of all time in the current history of all app downloads. And we did a kind of a 3-part Bible study, if you will. It's called I think it's called The Confidence of a Champion. And in that, I likened a couple of my favorite verses to my life, as well as my fight career, as well as, because fighting really is a metaphor for life, whether it be fighting for yourself, your career, your family, your faith, what it is that you believe that God put you on this earth for. And YouVersion gave me an opportunity to do a cool 3-day study. And I think there's a lot of good kind of resources in there, if you will. So everybody check it out.
I just got a really good question from Caden. Actually, I want the answer to this.
Nice.
He says, Michael, during a fight, what keeps you motivated to keep fighting and to stand your ground? Now, by the way, I've seen every one of Michael's fights, every single one of them. And I'm always blown away at how I don't think he can give up. Mm-hmm. I just have never seen any inkling of an idea that he would throw in the towel, so to speak. So how do you keep motivated to keep fighting and to stand your ground?
I think, so we think about just the fight, and just like we talked about with the delayed gratification, I want to be able to make decisions today, knowing that my future self, the man that actually steps inside the cage, is going to benefit from. And, as you alluded to, yes, I am not a guy who takes a backward step. I am not a guy who has ever given up. As a matter of fact, I've been in numerous situations where a lot of people said, I don't know how you got through that submission, or I don't know how you didn't pass out here, or how you didn't lose and stop the fight right here in this scenario. And all I can say is that my body and my spirit takes over. My indomitable will to win and keep fighting takes over. But that was not something that I was born with. As I said, I was a small guy from a small town who was taught to do small things. That guy is supposed to give up. That guy was supposed to never leave the county lines. That guy was supposed to take a job in the trades so that he would have a good retirement someday, to play it safe, to play it small. So when I'm inside that cage, playing it very big and playing it, biting down on my mouthpiece and continuing to come forward with complete disregard to opposition and previous failure, it's because I've made so many decisions leading up to that have gotten me to that point, that have hardened my skin, that have sharpened my skills, that have continued to build up my reservoirs of that indomitable spirit, if you will. Because we all, we're all born onto this earth, and we all have different gifts and different abilities and different levels of whether it be athleticism or intellect or IQ or this, that, or the other thing. But all of those things can be learned through nurture. And I think I was born a small guy from a small town, and I've turned myself I've built this vessel, if you will, through 10,000 hours of realizing that every single day I have an opportunity to get better. And every single day, I wake up thanking God for another opportunity to do his will here on this planet, and knowing that God called me to this sport of mixed martial arts. Therefore, every moment that I play small is sacrificing those gifts that I've been given. So, I think what you see inside that cage might look violent, and it definitely is, but it's also, there's a lot of gratitude wrapped up into it. There's a lot of gratitude that I was born with these 2 capable arms and these 2 capable legs to be able to go out there and do something great in front of millions of people. And that's what keeps me working hard every day. And that's what keeps me fighting in those tough moments.
Speaking of tough moments, the one that just keeps coming back to my mind about your question here, Caden, I remember Michael fought Benson Henderson. and he came out, and I think it was the most energy that I'd ever seen Michael expend in the first and second round. I mean, and he always comes out strong. He always comes out really, really hard and goes for it. But this time it was especially like he gave the guy a full suplex. He was doing all kinds of stuff to this poor guy. But we got to the fourth round, and Michael was just going 100% every single second of those 4 rounds. And at the end of the fourth round, I looked up, and Michael was literally on his knees in the middle of the cage, just staring off into the distance. And they're like, Michael, come on, we've got to get to the corner. And Michael's just staring off into the distance. So I looked over at his coach. And I'm like, Coach, he's out. He's out. He's not awake. Please help Michael. So he ran over and grabbed him by the shoulders. And Michael kind of woke up and he's like, oh my gosh, I'm in a fight. It's like, yeah, you're in a fight. You're fighting Benson Henderson, one of the greatest lightweights that's ever lived. You're fighting him right now. And Michael, sure enough, kind of got his bearings back and went out there, and he won the fight in the 5th round. So it's just amazing to see what can happen to somebody when they set in their mind, this is what's going to happen. This is how it's going to go. And there is going to be no retreat. There is going to be no stopping me. We have to be fully committed. The more committed we are as people, the better our lives are going to be, the more blessings we're going to be able to give everyone else around us. So.
Yeah, and always remembering, sorry, just not to cut you off, but always remembering that quitting is a habit, winning, and it's not quitting in the big sense. It's, as we talked about, how can we be trusted with the big things if we can't be trusted with the small things? So if you're quitting and cutting corners and taking the easy way out in those small little moments of life, or those small little behind closed doors scenarios where nobody's going to find out if I cut a corner here or I slack off here, those things actually do rear their head, because the human spirit, we were created. Give me the Zig quote. Created for, designed for accomplishment, created for, engineered for success. And what's the third one?
I don't know.
Something like that. We truly were. I
thought I'd help out with the second one. I thought
that was good. That was good.
Endowed with the seeds of greatness.
Endowed with the seeds of greatness, man.
A 3-stranded cord is hard to break, folks.
You can't see the 3 chain links. But I think at our core, we truly are all created for greatness. And every moment that we take an easy way out, and every moment that we slack off, and every moment that we take the easy way out, we are wearing away at our opportunity. When that opportunity comes, we are wearing away at our abilities in that big opportunity. So quitting is a habit, taking the easy way out is a habit, and life is about minimizing the amount of times that you take yourself outside of your comfort zone.
That's it. Stay in the game. All right. Here's another question from Isaiah. What are some ways that you've been able to use your platform to inspire others?
I think for me, it's always been about continuing to show people that, because I get this all the time. Hey champ, how do you stay motivated? Hey champ, how is your diet so good? Or hey champ, how do you work out so hard? And this, that, and the other thing. and I always refer back to whenever Zig said that he is an optometrist. He was put on this earth to change people's vision of certain scenarios and certain this and certain that. And for me, I liken that to, I am an optometrist to change people's view and vision of what the human body, what the human spirit, and what the human abilities are capable of. And yeah, I do some crazy backflips with med balls, and I do these crazy workouts and these things that are almost unattainable to 90% of people out there.
I'm one of those people.
Yeah, right. But so I want to be able to show people that the human spirit was created for more than we give it credit for. But I'll also want to show people that you can be more motivated, you can be more inspired, you can be more built up, you can surround yourself with the best people possible, you can do the small things in your diet and your workout and your excellence to someday be the man or woman that you were created to be. So just through my social media, at Mike Chandler MMA on Instagram is kind of where my main focus is, because I can do a lot of videos and long form stuff. And then now I'm starting to realize that I need to put out more, free content for people. And I just created a 14-day book.
He's cutting out a
get
little
done
bit.
with this quarantine and hit the ground running.
You were underwater, underwater there for a second. Can everybody hear me okay? Raise your hand if you can hear me.
Can you hear me now?
I just want to see everyone raise their hand. Nice work.
Right. Can you hear me now?
So one of the things that you were just saying, Michael, I think that's where it cut out, is you just created a document called 14 Days to the Top.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about that and how they can get it.
Well, that's great. Yeah, because I am continuing to try to keep that Ziglar legacy, continuing to move forward as you all are. So I say see you at the top all the time, whether people have, and every now and then I'll get somebody who's like, oh man, love Zig Ziglar. Or they're like, man, that's cool that you made that up. And I'm like, no, I didn't make that up. that's Zig Ziglar to the core since day one. But yeah, so it's called 14 Days at the Top. And for me, it's 14 different lessons that I've learned over the last 20 years, things to dwell on, and then action steps to take as we get out of quarantine and we hit the ground running and start moving forward. You can go to unsunggrinders.com and download it there.
That's UNSUNG grinders.
Unsunggrinders.com. Because that's one of my things. I use the hashtag unsunggrinders all the time, because just like and this is what I've realized, and I'd love to share this with this group, is that I love the phrase "see you at the top," not because of the getting to the top part, but because of the "see you there" part. And I've witnessed it since day one, that people have brought me with them to help me get there with them. You, Chris, have always been excited about me getting to the top, but you've always tried to pull me up. And what does it mean to get to the top if you look to your right and you don't see anybody? You look to your left and you don't see anybody. And you're just standing there by yourself. So realizing that I love see you at the top so much because of the see you there part. So I would use that hashtag unsung grinders, because there's millions of people all over the world who are working out, getting after it, and training hard and eating right mentally and physically and spiritually, just like me. So I always tell them to use the hashtag unsung grinders so we can all celebrate each other's work together. So that's where unsunggrinders.com comes from. But also, I have a link in my bio at Mike Chandler MMA. If you go to my link tree, you can click on it, and it says the free 14-day mindset booklet.
Good. Chloe's got a good, or actually, I'm sorry, Caroline first. Caroline Leonard asked, where's Caroline? Raise your hand, Caroline. Where are you? Don't be shy.
Don't be shy, Caroline.
Caroline dipped. She's like, I'm out.
I'm going to leave this question right here. I'm out.
I'm just going to leave it and go.
Joke's on you guys. She's right there. Wave, Caroline. I can see you.
I don't
there you are, Caroline.
Okay.
Oh,
well,
she said her internet is bad.
She just wants more spotlight, guys. That's what she wants. Yeah. Well, Caroline asked this question. She said, did you ever doubt yourself when you were applying to different colleges?
I did. That was an interesting transition period for me, because as I said, I had scholarship offers from a couple schools in Missouri, Central Missouri State, Missouri Baptist, SIUE in Illinois. But I for some reason said I wanted to go to Mizzou, and Mizzou was not an easy school to get into necessarily. And then once I got accepted to the different ones, then I had to make the big decision, So I think a lot of the viewers today might be in that transition period where they're wondering, do I go to this school because of X, Y, and Z, or this school because of X, Y, and Z? And I can tell you right now, I feel like 10 years later, at least 10 years later now, that I made the right decision for myself. But I know a lot of people who when you're in that period of time, you're not quite sure. And you have all these different people saying, mom and dad are saying this, and aunt and uncle are saying that, and friends are saying this, and teammates are saying this. The best thing to do, just like we talked about, writing down a list for your mental highlight reel, write down that list of pros and cons of where you think the best fit is, where you think you can get the best education, and where you think you can get the best kind of X factor. For me, that X factor was athletics. It was wrestling. Maybe for you, it's community, or a certain club, or a certain, organization that you can be a part of. Making that decision. And I've said this for going on a decade now too. We can only make the best decision that we can with the information that we have. We can't make a decision based on information that we don't have, and we can't make a decision we can't let anybody else make the decision for us. And yes, you are going to make bad decisions. You are going to go left when you should have went right. You're going to zig when you should have zagged. My life is full of that, as Chris has alluded to. And as I have talked about, you will look back and say, man, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have listened to my gut, or listened to my this, or listened to this person. So the best thing you can do is make the best decision right now with the information that you have, but be diligent with it. Talk to God about it. Ask God for the discernment to know, and the people to come into your life. You never know. It could be a stranger walking by on a street right now when we're in quarantine and you're going on your daily walk, that you might get that one interaction that said, maybe that means I should go to this college or that college. Because I believe God works like that, where all of a sudden there might be a lack of clarity, and then all of a sudden one interaction or one sign, if you will, points you in the right direction.
Great. So I got time for one more question here. And this is a good one from Chloe. Say hi, Chloe. Where she is. Hi, Chloe. And Chloe says, how do you keep a positive mindset and not let negative self-thoughts get to you?
Well, I can tell you from experience that I have not been the best at this. This has been something, I imagine, when I was Chloe's age, I would imagine, if when I was most of the people's, the average of everyone's age on here, I let my negative self-talk get to me. I listened to a lot of what other people thought, because I was still learning about life. I was still, and this is one thing that I want all of you guys to know. I'm still in a period of my life where I'm competing. So it's very, very much mental, and we can act like it's athletics, but life is mental. Growing as a human being, turning into an adult and going into college, and then getting your first job, and then transitioning to learning about life. Me and my wife talk about this all the time, and I talk to Chris about it too. We joke. I'm like, I thought by 34 years old, I'd have my whole life figured out. Just like a lot of you guys think, man, I'm 18, 19, I'm 20 years old, man. I should have this whole thing figured out in the next year or two. Trust me, you'll never, ever have it figured out. And I think
I'm 51 years old. I can attest to that.
and honestly, surrounding yourself with the type of people who can speak this kind of wisdom into your life and just be real about life. There is no perfect blueprint for life that is going to help you figure it out, because my life is different than every single one of your life. And even though I want a life similar to Chris's, because I admire him in so many different ways, and we talk every single day, and I want so many different things about his life, or how he is, or how he is as a father, how he is as a businessman, how he is as a leader, I will never be Chris, because I have my own specific gifts and my own specific set of attributes and my own specific platform that God has given me. So rest in the freedom that you will never, ever have this whole thing figured out.
I will. And if I could jump in there though, Michael, there is one thing that I've done that has consistently helped me for decades. Follow the Ziglar philosophies. Yep. They're all biblically rooted. Mm-hmm. Everything that Zig ever put together was, he extrapolated it from the Bible and then made it really easy to understand, layman's terms. And I've been following, I still listen to Ziglar CDs. Yes, I said CDs because I have a CD player in my car. I don't download from these interwebs like you kids do. But anyways, I listen to Ziglar as much as I possibly can. And I still do. And I'm talking like I've probably put in thousands of hours of either reading his books or listening. But you will not be steered wrong. And I can confidently say that as a man who's been way less than broke, been in massive debt. I've had all kinds of depression and issues and things like that. But the one constant is I always knew I got to get my goal planner out. I got to start working towards it again and keep moving. One last question from me to you, Michael. Tell everybody what it's like to be around you on fight week.
I am a peach. I am the epitome of the Ziglar principles. I am patient and I am kind and I am no, during fight week, that's funny that you bring that up, but there's a lesson in this, and I think it's twofold. Number one, you got to have the right people around you. And number two, you got to know that what you are doing, your future self will thank you for.
Let me set this up a little bit more. Okay. So, during fight week, every fighter is basically going through a bit of hell, if you would. They're literally starving themselves. They're bringing themselves down to a weight I mean, Michael, how much do you lose from your regular walk around weight to going to 155? Like 30 pounds? Is that right?
30, yeah, 30 pounds. Yeah. 30
Yeah.
pounds.
So he's losing 30 pounds, and then fight week he comes, he really can't eat anything. And then it gets really bad when he can't drink any water because he's just trying to dehydrate and just make that weight. So anyways, that's what I see as fight week, is him going through all the pain of just trying to cut those last few pounds. But go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, no. And so Chris has been, like, as you said, Chris was at my first world title fight. And that's where we really kind of started, this relationship. And it's now been a decade, and he's been at every single one of my fights. And it's very important what people are in your corner. As Chris said, he doesn't know a lick about being able to say anything that's going to help me fight better. But just having him there, having my dad's there in my corner. My dad's not there because he knows how to fight or he's going to teach me how to fight. But my dad, for me, is a symbol and a beacon of hard work, because he pulled himself up by his bootstraps at 5 a.m. every single morning, every single day of my life. So who is in your corner, and who is there to sometimes take the brunt of the load, if you will? The guy who might be the whipping post here and there, the guy who might be, taking when I'm short of temper and I got to say something in a certain direction, it's headed in his direction for some reason. He's just like a magnet for it. But it all comes back to, who are the people that would take a bullet for you? Who are the people that are in your corner that really, truly, and they're not just saying it, it's not just lip service, who is in your group of friends has the same goals as you, the same goals that you guys are equally yoked, that you're working towards a goal together. Maybe you don't have the exact same goals, but your work ethic towards those goals, your amount of discipline towards those goals, and your ability to enter seasons of delayed gratification towards a certain goal. Those are the kind of people you want to surround yourself with. And the type of people that are going to be with you through the ups and downs and the thick and the thin, the people who don't want to see you tempted by the things that we always fall into, the things that so easily entrap us, that are going to take us further and further away from our goals. Surround yourself with the people that are going to build you up. Surround yourself with the people that are going to be there in life's fights. Yes, maybe none of you will be mixed martial artists or be in a fight, if you will, an actual physical fight for your career. But every day is a fight. You're fighting for the platform that God has given you. You're fighting for the life that God designed your heart to be able to go out and lasso and take. So surround yourself with those types of people.
Great message. Michael, thank you so much for all of your wisdom today. Thank you guys for sending in some questions. Those were very helpful. But I will.
Well, Chris, there's one question. I saw that somebody who is an amateur MMA fighter just wants some tips, I believe, on what Michael might feel the future is. And since that's
I missed that one. Let me go ahead and read that one. It says, any tips for an amateur MMA fighter with the current climate with no live sports, due to the coronavirus? Do you think there is a future for upcoming fighters?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think this is just a blip on the radar for every industry. I mean, obviously, every industry took a hit during this thing. Some, Zoom, I know the Zoom, since we're all talking on Zoom, I know the Zoom stock went through the roof because we're all starting to realize that we're going to be doing this a lot more. Number one, I don't think it's even because people are scared of human interaction anymore. I think we just realized how great this is and how awesome it is to be able to connect like this. But, I also see, so when I was a young fighter coming up, I went right into the pro ranks, went right into pro fighting. But you got to A, surround yourself with the best people possible, and B, work extremely hard. And those are the two things that I always did. I said, okay, that guy right there is a future world champion. And that guy right there does things right and lives his life right. I want to be like that guy. There's nothing wrong with looking at certain people and saying, I want what he has, what she has. I like the way he does this, the way she does that. And then going and surround yourself with those people. And that's what you have to do as the youngest, as kind of a young person coming up in any vocation, in any industry, whether it's business, whether it's any kind of organization, or whether it's any kind of sport. And then working extremely hard so that your actions back up, what your lip service is saying. And yeah, I think this weekend there's some fights. The UFC is putting on some shows. I was supposed to fight June 6th. I'm now probably fighting late June, maybe early July, middle of July. So these fights are going to happen. There may not be anybody in attendance for a little while, which will be interesting to say the least, but it will definitely be on TV. But definitely don't get discouraged. Keep working extremely hard. Because as I said, the work that you put in mentally and physically and spiritually during this quarantine, during this season of time, when you got to just get back to the basics, even if it's just shadow boxing, or even if it's just doing push-ups and sit-ups and pull-ups on a tree limb, you're going to be able to hit the ground running here in a couple of days whenever all these bans are lifted. So the future of mixed martial arts is still bright.
Yes.
Michael, before you go, what ways can they reach out to you and connect with you, both through the unsunggrinders.com and your different social media platforms? If you could just repeat those for them so they'll have those.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate it. Yeah. So for me, as I said, I'm very active on Instagram, and it's connected to my Twitter and whatnot. So that gives me the opportunity to be able to put out all my content and all my cool stuff. I also just got a phone number that people can text me on. Don't call it because I won't answer it, but you can text on it, and you'll be texting directly to me, 619-304-5960. So maybe we can put that in the chat real quick. Because I actually have just released it the other day, and I have a bunch of text messages.
Repeat that again, Michael.
619 304 5960. And so that just gives me the opportunity to be able to text people back and forth whenever they have specific questions, rather than going to my Instagram and trying to get in all the DMs and all that kind of stuff, because I have it right here. So it pops up right here so people can text me right there. So it's perfect. 619-304.
Oh, so disregard that last one.
Disregard that one.
My executive assistant failed on that one.
Somebody's going to be getting a lot of texts this afternoon and wondering what is going on
over here.
Hey, let's blow this guy up. Hey, man, you want to fight?
619. Let me go here. Let me do it real quick.
Oh, goodness. This is why I need help.
619-304-5960. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Good job. Anyways, so
autocorrect.
Yes. But yeah, if you go to my Instagram bio at Mike Chandler MMA, I have my link there in the bio where you can click on it, and it says the free 14-day mindset booklet. And in that, it's got my text message number a bunch in there where you can, because I say, hey, today's action step was to, hey, make your list of this, and this. Send me a text with your questions, problems, comments, concerns, because as I said, it doesn't mean a thing for me to get to the top if I don't bring people with me, if I don't have people there with me, because you can get everything you want in life if you'll just help enough other people get what they want in life. And I've been watching Chris walk this out for the last decade, and it's obviously been extremely a huge blessing to his life, and it's been a huge blessing to my life. And I just want to bless as many people as I possibly can. So
here's the good news. We are all on our way to the top.
There you go.
We're coming with you, Mr. Chandler.
Let's go, baby.
James.
Thank you, guys.
Of course.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys. Everybody give the air cheer, the hands, so you're clapping there. Look at there. Some of them are not clapping, but that's okay. We've got most of them clapping there. So let me do it again. Everybody do it again now that you're all on gallery so they can see it on the hey, that's cool. That's cool. Well, guys, thank you so much.